Hello, and welcome to the BC podcast. I'm Dace. Sorry I've not been around recently. And with me is, of course, Mr. Sonic OSG. Hello.
Hello.
So, I've been a bit busy. Had some personal stuff going on. And me being ill and all that sort of stuff. So, what have you been playing this last week?
Me? Well, I've been playing Factorio. I've logged another about 20-30 hours into a save.
That doesn't sound
And
particularly
then
safe.
Well, it's fun, but I've also been playing some Homeworld recently in skirmishes versus the CPU, and so far I think I've pretty much been winning. I'm gonna have to get back into the really high difficulty things, because I used to be able to beat the CPU no matter what, but...
Alright. Well, I mean, me personally, I have been playing Pokemon Crystal. Because I never played Crystal originally. I played Silver. That was my Gen 2 one. Hashtag my real Gen 2. Silver's been very interesting for me because they changed a lot of things, not just about the maps, but they also added animations, which was the first time they'd done that. They also made the legendaries more part of the story, and I keep running into a bloody Raikou, and I'm like, good God, they're like level 40, and my guys are like level 20. Like, what am I doing? On top of that, I've also been playing Beyond Earth again, which I really enjoy. And a lot of people...
sorry to interrupt, but who doesn't like their RTSs?
Well, I mean, it's a 4X game, and I've got other 4X games, even other ones made by Firaxis, who also make one of my other favourite games, XCOM. I like me some XCOM. I need to get XCOM 2 when I get the opportunity. I still need to finish my playthrough of XCOM Enemy Within with the Long War mod. Good God, that's hard. But although a lot of people weren't big fans of the Beyond Earth game and its DLC, I'm actually a big fan of it because I like the idea of sort of speculative futures, as it were. The idea that we go and, of course, rather than be sensible and like hang out with each other on an alien planet and be like, hey, we survived the planet really getting screwed over. How about we band together? Nah, I'm going to crush you. I'm going to crush you with my big aliens, rawr. Or I'm going to crush you with my big robots, or whatever. And you're just like...
I'm going to crush you with my big aliens, rawr.
Yeah, you basically make a Godzilla-looking motherfucker. It's amazing. Because there's three basic principles. There is harmony, which is like, aliens are awesome. I like awesome. We're going to become more like the aliens. You've got the supremacy, which is robots are fucking sweet and we need more of them in our lives. And I'm like, yes, I can only agree. And the last one is supremacy, which is we must remain pure. And I'm like, now I'm not really seeing much of an advantage here, mate. They rely on...
in supremacy, you pretty much become the enclave of space.
Effectively, except you're all about purity rather than hybridizing. But
wasn't the Enclave all about purity? Because
no.
President Eden wants minor spoilers. He wants you to stick a modified version of the FEV virus and literally kill every mutated human being or mutated being in the Commonwealth.
Kind of, except that supremacy is... the purity one is just guff. Like, you don't seem to... Like, it's the only... Like, normally I try to see it from all sides. You know, if you're playing, say, any FPS or anything like that, and there's themes of politics in it. So you try to understand what they're doing. Now, some of them, like, for example, Doom, as we were mentioning earlier on before we got on here. Doom is one of these ones where you don't need a complicated theme, because... they're demons, you are a bloke, or presumably a gentleman. Cause, yeah, weirdly enough, you are the Doom Marine in Doom. If you've ever played it, it only says you. It doesn't say, such and such. It's you that does it, which I think is cool. Just side note, technically the first ever FPS RPG. I'm just saying. So, just saying. So the problem is normally when it's things like, for example, say Red Alert, you can see it from both sides and understand that actually neither side are particularly great, especially if you're used to the Command & Conquer series, or if you play a lot of other sort of story-driven RTSs and stuff like that. You can usually see it from the other side. Not in this case. Anyone who picks Purity is just... I'm probably going to piss someone off. But anyone who picks Purity, in my eyes, is a complete moron, because you're not really playing into the fantasy. Like, I don't see humans leaving Earth and being like, you know what, let's just behave exactly the same way because that makes so much sense considering we literally trashed the planet we were just on. Oh my god, yes. You know, it just doesn't seem like... I mean, I can get that, like, there would be many sort of feuds going on between people who were... Because the way it describes it, the way it shows it, is that you're frozen and then shot into space, and it's like... Oh, who wish to be Capsicle out in deep space? So they send you out into space and then they drop you down, and then it's like you're still with your government kind of thing. So it you know, and the governments don't always get along. So, like, for example, there's Polystrasia, which appears to be Australia and a lot of the Polynesian nations have banded together to send their people up into space. And like, there's the Franco-Iberian Peninsula, which seems to be basically France plus Portugal and Spain, and I don't know, maybe bits of the Rhine at this point, I don't know. And they sent that in space.
Something tells me they'll have good food.
They are annoying to deal with, and like the you know what I mean? There's all these different sort of political ideologies going out in space, but you get the feeling that after, say, a couple of years, political ideologies tend to die in their arse when you're more concerned with, hey, how am I going to eat tonight? What with this whole I've literally uprooted my civilization and moved to another planet, rather than, you know, let's go blow those guys up. Why? Because they look funny. Just call me weird, but it's not the biggest sell to me. But I like the concept of speculative fiction in that there's a good chance that if we were to go to space and if Earth was truly screwed and, you know, we go somewhere else, there's a good chance we'd start squabbling. But, I mean, we'd start squabbling and then be like, yeah, we shouldn't like adapt in any way, shape or form. We should in fact stay the same and force the environment around us to bend to our wills like we did on Earth, because that worked out so well. It just doesn't make sense as a political ideology in the game. Sorry, I'm overanalyzing the political like ideology of a mechanic in a video game. I think I've got a problem here.
You don't have a problem. You have the makings of a YouTube channel.
I don't know.
Theory.
Hey, I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Pack, and I have a lot of problems with a lot of things he says.
Matt Pack?
Matt Pat, the guy who runs.
I thought you said Matt Pack.
Well, what, like some sort of Matt-based version of Pac-Man? Although I would just run into the ghost repeatedly in that version. I'm not his biggest fan. He knows what he did. Also, his voice is fucking annoying. That's just me. I know that's just me. But good God, I want to slap him, because especially when you see all these fan videos, and it's like, oh, and then he. No, you go.
No, I was about to say, it's not just you that thinks that his voice is weird. He has, there's literally an entire Reddit community that disagrees with just his voice.
I mean, his voice is annoying enough, but then a lot of other stuff he says is pure shite, and I'm like, what are you talking about, mate? It's like, now, we've talked about this, not really on here before, but I'm a bit of a fan of wrestling, and a part of the fan...
Cough, cough. Wanted to have an entire... I wanted to have an entire segment dedicated to his wrestling, because...
I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I'm using this as an example. There's a part of the community known as smarks. This comes from insider terminology, meaning a mark, or an audience member. A mark is someone who plays long, cheers the good guys, the faces, and boos the heels, the bad guys. A smark is a smart mark, someone who's aware of the business, or basically is a fan on the internet. And a couple of years ago...
Cough, cough, you cough, cough?
To a lesser extent, yeah. But I'm not as... like, you'll see that there's a scale of smarkdom, as it were. I mean, I'm one of these guys who's like, yeah, I'll cheer the faces if I think they deserve cheered. I'm not going to boo them because the smarks boo them. A good example is right now the guy who's the current champion is booed by smarks. And he's booed by a lot of other people. And the reasoning for it is really weak sauce. Basically, the complaints are he isn't other people. And that just doesn't sit well with me. It's a case of, if you're going to boo a guy because he's crap, or boo a guy because he's a heel. Don't just boo him because we don't approve of him. Because the guy in particular, Roman Reigns, is the current champion. He's been on a 2-year push to the top. He's headlined 2 WrestleManias back-to-back. The first one, he headlined it, everyone was due to boo him, and they turned it into a triple threat match using the best plot device in wrestling called Money in the Bank, which other companies have copied. Seth Rollins...
I thought you were about to say the best plot device in all of history. I was about to say Taken?
No. Taken? What are you even talking about? Get out. MacGuffins are better. Right, so another wrestler called Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, which says you can cash it in at any time to turn with a champion to make that match a title match. So basically, he runs down the ramp after having his ass kicked by Randy Orton. You should know who he is. He's the RKO guy. So he gets beaten by Randy Orton, and at the end of the pay-per-view, Brock Lesnar is fighting Roman Reigns. He runs in, causes a triple threat, pins Roman, and gets the title, because that's how triple threats work. In the event of a triple threat, it doesn't matter if you are the champion and you don't get pinned, you can still lose because somebody else got pinned. And then this year, he main evented WrestleMania again, and people just they just hate him. There's nothing they can do to help him out. This is the problem. People think, turning him heel, making him a bad guy would help his persona. It's like, no, people boo him because they don't like him, and they don't like him for no reason. So at this point, there's nothing that the booking can do. And a lot of the problem is, as well, the smart fans, the smarks as it were, they boo him for what he represents, which is he's the handpicked guy from the head of the corporation, supposedly, by big Vince McMahon. People see him as being booked the same way John Cena was, because while John Cena is now starting to climb back in the Smark fandom because he's been away and injured and people have kind of missed him, Roman Reigns has been there for like 2 years solid and he's not gone away, and he's been winning matches, and people just like, it's unbelievable. And it's like, well, no, it's not. You're not looking at the bigger picture. You're not looking at what's happening. And this is one of the things, is that when you have a portion of your fandom starting to like demand certain things, and if they don't fit to their very precise ideas, and to me, Matt Pat, from what I've seen of his stuff, comes across as really smarky in the same way of, I demand this to be true, or I am right, listen to me, kind of thing. Now, neither of us, neither you nor myself, will say that we're 100% right 100% of the time.
I'm right about 17% of the time.
That's probably doing yourself short, but presumably we understand that we're flawed individuals and we make mistakes. But Matt Pat, in the way that he presents himself, holds himself, and has behaved in other interviews, does not appear to have that willingness to believe he could be wrong. And frequently he's made statements about, say, the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom. And they're very interesting videos. I strongly advise everyone to go check them out, because at the end of the day, the guy does do a lot of good work. He does his research. But there's some things where I'm like, you're not willing to suspend disbelief, which is kind of half the point of these games. Like, a good example would be, he did this thing on Sonic and went, Sonic's so slow. And it's like, you know what? Just kind of roll with it. It works off of video game logic. Sonic is fast, therefore he goes fast. Mario is, I think, technically pixel for pixel faster, but Mario's thing isn't, I'm a fast dude. So you kind of have to buy into the gimmick in the same way. And Matt Pat doesn't have that sort of suspension of disbelief thing, which I think is... I think that's a problem, personally. If you're not willing to suspend disbelief for the purposes of a fantasy, whether it be video games or wrestling, you kind of just have to... If you're not willing to suspend disbelief, then you're in the wrong area altogether. If you want to see proper fighting, go watch UFC. Guys will kick the shit out of each other all day long there. Well, not all day long. One of them will pass out. But the point is, they'll be, if you want to see a real fight, go watch UFC. If you want to watch wrestling, you watch wrestling. They are very different.
Or you just go to a retirement home and throw a bag of flowers onto the floor and watch grannies beat the crap out of each other.
That's really not appropriate. My grandmother is in a home. There's not...
My great-grandmother did that to her local home.
That doesn't exactly sound
96.
like she was the nice... She doesn't sound like the nicest person, I'm sorry. Like, that just sounds cruel.
The only thing that's keeping her alive at this point is stubbornness, to put it this way. I mean, she's 96 years old, and she still push mows her own yard. Granted, it's in Ohio, so there's not too terribly much heat up there. But she push mows her own yard and weed eats still. And she's 96. They actually had to forcibly take away her driver's license.
Damn. All right, well...
because she was getting too... Either way, let's get back to the main topic.
Yeah, we've spent like 10 minutes talking about how I don't like Matt Pack and how wrestling is awesome, and you should totally check that out. Incidentally, the other I'm just going to one other thing about this. It's not actually about wrestling, but I pay for... Well, we've got the WWE Network here, and we really, really like it, because not only can I go back and watch all the good matches of my young era... 1997, such a good year for so many things. By the way, the match in particular... Bad Blood in Your House. Go check it out. First ever Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. It's amazing. It also has one of the best debuts of all time. No spoilers. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. But there is a thing that the WWE have commissioned, which is made by Seth Green, who, of course, you know who Seth Green is. We all know who Seth Green is. Family Guy, Mass Effect, because he was Joker, Robot Chicken. He got commissioned to do a TV series for them. An adult TV series with all the swearing. It's great, and it involves here's the setup. The wrestlers are kids, and they're at a summer camp.
Yes.
Vince McMahon runs the camp, and he's completely crazy. In the first episode alone, he summons a boat by throwing a pill in the lake, and then jumps on a giraffe to chase John Cena, who is himself riding on a coyote. I'm not kidding. This is an actual show. It's amazing.
What is Seth Green smoking, and how can I get a hold of it?
I don't know, but it's great. They also do have some legit legends of wrestling. For example, Ric Flair does his own voice work when he appears, whereas like all the normal wrestlers of the main roster are played by young sounding actors. So, for example, John Cena is not voiced by the John Cena, but the younger Taker.
Boy that has.
Oh,
the younger Taker.
Younger Taker, who is young Undertaker, is just the best thing. He literally says the lines in one of the in like the second episode is "Holy fucking Cthulhu, did Big Show just make a joke?" And I was like, I'm done. This guy's great, and it just gets better. Seriously, episode 2 is like amazing. But incidentally, Cena is disliked by a lot of members of camp, making fun of the fact that he was so heavily disliked during his run as the top guy. Now, he's due to come back on Memorial Day, which is like May 30th for anyone outside the US.
No, May 30th is Memorial. Yeah,
he's coming back on Memorial Day because that's the first.
I may include a picture of this, but I finally have a calendar on my wall, so I finally have like a set recording day and everything, so I'll try and record things.
Fair enough. But yeah, like
no promises though.
Oh. No, seriously though, like before we get back to the gaming, go check out the like if you're paying the $9.99 or whatever it is just for Camp WWE, it's probably worth it. There's lots of other good stuff on there as well. I mean, there's all that wrestling stuff.
I mean, you have access to all of their digitized archives.
Oh, and by the way, there's another series which was again made for kids this time called Slam City. Check it out. Kane becomes a lunch lady. No, there is no context. Kane becomes a lunch lady in it. It's great. It also has Damien Sandow making an appearance because, of course, Damien Sandow has been released from the company's employ, which is very, very sad because he can't appear on TV for another 3 months, which really sucks. If you're released from the company, they pay you 3 months and say, yeah, don't go on TV. Not in a wrestling capacity. If somebody, like, if for some reason John Cena was like, yeah, I'm going to go work for the Today program, bye, and just decides he wants to go work on USA Today or whatever, which he has done.
No, just the Today Show.
He did do that for a month, though.
Woken up. Yeah, I've woken up on multiple occasions. My mom and I dropped cable, and we just got one of those antennas, and we watch public access TV, and every once in a while, I'll just wake up and I see John Cena on the Today Show and they act like nothing is happening. I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off because it's John Cena learning how to make a key lime pie from Rachel Ray.
Well, yeah, weirdly enough, when he was on his break in between October and January, because of course he came back in January and then immediately injured himself like a twattic, bloody shoulder injuries, I swear to God, they're killer. So he was just decided he wanted a 2-month break. Big man Vince couldn't really say no because the guy had been working for 6 years without a break. So it might be fair for him to ask for 2 months off. So he takes his 2 months off and he decides not to do wrestling for 2 months. And I think he really enjoyed it. Now John Cena's like 38, 39, so he's not staying with the company forever. And that's why they're phasing in this new guy, which is Roman Reigns, and everyone just is primed to hate him for no reason, which sucks. So we should probably get on with what we actually intended to talk about today, because it'll end up being a half-hour podcast about wrestling rather than gaming, because that's really what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
actually, we the last podcast that went up, which you should go and watch that if you haven't seen that, we went on for well over half an hour just talking about random things. And here's something that I think I forgot to delete, but on camera, which this is kind of a spoiler, but the last podcast was actually done filmed as well as having this mic do all the audio recording that I'm using now. But
hardworking Mike.
No, but we the funny thing is that I don't remember if it was Berserker or Nox One or one of the guests that we had on that day. They had made me laugh so hard that I fell on my ass out of my chair.
Well, if you want to start doing spots in the middle of your podcast, that's yours. Anyway,
no.
By the way, we should mention very briefly that there is a new snapshot out for Minecraft 1.10. So that
I haven't gotten to see that.
Have
yet.
you not? Right. Well, there's one of the things that's really important is that they've introduced new blocks. There are new enemies. Enderman can now spawn in the Nether, by the sounds of things.
Oh God.
Yeah, because that needed to happen. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening, and I checked it out on Mumbo Jumbo's channel, who recently hit over 1 million subscribers. Go check out his stuff. He's got a very concise guide on it. It's very short as well, because one of the things that they've got is there's 2 new enemies, one of which has an on-hit hunger effect, which is basically a zombie. It's like a wraithy, whitey sort of zombie thing. It spawns in the desert, and if it touches you, you get the hunger effect, which is, I think it's going to be very powerful, and it's going to be a real problem if you like hanging out in the desert. I'm a big believer in hanging out in deserts in Minecraft. I just like deserts. I'm weird that way. Also because I can flatten the whole thing with a spade, which just makes me inherently happy. But
I love jungles because tree houses are fucking awesome.
Well, the other thing you got to be careful of is there is a new block, which is basically lava as a block. It doesn't go anywhere, but it does a lot of damage. Currently, I don't think there's a way to create it, but this is the snapshot, and it might well be a creative-only block, or it could be one of those ones which could be mined
comes in like a dungeon chest,
or is Silk Touch mineable, for example.
Yeah.
That's quite possible.
I'll have to watch his video on the snapshot, because the last thing I heard about 1.10 was something that came out on like Monday, or this is getting filmed on Wednesday, so yeah. But the last thing I heard about 1.10 was something from Swimming Bird on like Monday or something like that.
Well, I would highly advise you go check it out. We'll leave a link to Mumbo Jumbo's video, which you should check out his stuff anyway. He's actually a pretty cool guy. I'm not saying this because he's British.
Yeah, he's a really insanely good.
I'm not saying this because I'm not saying this because he's British. I just like his stuff. Before those accusations start, I'm just going to stop them. The other thing as well, he also came up with a very easy to make mob grinder using the new fire block. Which here's the kicker. It behaves like lava in that it burns on touch and on contact. It produces light, but mobs can spawn on it. So you can actually create...
Just make an entire dark room out of that.
Yeah, you can literally make an entire dark room. He's shown a system where you put down a base layer with powered rails on it and the hopper minecarts back and forth, dropping it back into a traditional hopper system. And then you literally just plonk down a whole bunch of these magma block things and put a cover over it. Job's a good one. You're done. You can go home. That's it. That's it done. You don't need to do anything else at that point because it will just fill it up. And it is a rapid spawner. It's like, see, if you're doing it on a server, you wouldn't even cause lag. That's how quick it is. And you could set it.
It just
spawn
kill.
Yeah.
Either way, we should get back to our topic.
Yeah, sorry, I just thought I'd mention the snapshot.
We keep on getting way off topic today.
Sounds like a lot. Like, remember our early Skype conversations? We used to get off topic all the time.
Oh my god, the first Skype call that we had. Hi, I'm Mr. Sonic. Hi, I'm Deus.
Yeah, that's...
What the fuck do you want to talk about? I don't know. 2 hours later. And that's how I met my fiancé.
Exactly.
No, that wasn't it. Whatever.
Incidentally, by the way, just as another slight aside, and this is literally it, the Japanese manga of Sherlock is getting an English release. That's right. There is it's a comic produced by Titan Comics, which was being released in Japan, It's being republished from Japan into English, but it used to be it was a literal translation of the BBC Sherlock series. It even gives Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat direct credit for writing it because it is literally panel for panel. It's very interesting. I highly advise you go check it out. So when it comes out, it should be coming out fairly soon. Look for it. It's by Titan Comics. So check them out from your local vendor. Sorry, I have been distracting you. You were meaning to talk to me about something actually
fine.
real.
It's fine.
So meanwhile, I'm just doing random fandom stuff now.
Let's get into the actual topics of today, which actually are some pretty cool ones in my personal opinion. The first one being that somebody got Windows 95 working on an Xbox One.
Why would you do that? Like, literally, why would you do that? Like, obviously, were you even born in 1995?
99.
Oh, good God. Right, okay. 1995 was not a good year, despite the fact that it revolutionized the operating system revolutionized how we now look at operating systems today in a different way from Mac, who had a very specific goal when they did their things, as it were. Windows 95 was unfortunately a buggy piece of crap that wouldn't be perfected ever during its lifespan. It uses up too much RAM. It's just a big pile of poo. Now, had you told me they got Windows 98 Second Edition running on there, I would be like, I'ma have me some of that, because while it wasn't the most secure version of it, in fact, if you were at the login screen and you press cancel, you would immediately log into the administrator mode. It was a different time, but the point was that Windows 98 Second Edition was extremely stable and was in fact probably one of the best gaming platforms until XP came along. It was a really solid game platform. And although in 2000 we got Windows 2000, which was basically a repackaged 98, it had a different file system, which is now the one we're used to, the NT system. But it made its first appearance in Windows 2000, which its code got leaked not that long ago. It's more used for servers and stuff like that these days because it was generally pretty okay for that. Although there was a problem, I remember hearing, that if you didn't patch it out, caused if the computer was on for more than 24 hours, it caused a memory leak and the entire thing died on its arse. But Windows 95 was not good. No, Windows 95 was not good. Windows 2000 was not good. Windows 98 Second Edition, I'm specifying Second Edition because that First Edition was shit. Fight me. But the point was that Windows Second Edition and XP, presumably Service Pack 3, was the best iterations of those programs. Arguably, Windows 7 is a lot better than Windows Vista, although I don't think anyone's going to fight me on that one somehow.
There's only going to be 3 people on Earth, and I think I know all 3, that would fight you saying that Vista is better than Windows 7. But
why would they say that? They're just wrong.
I know.
They're just wrong.
This
Vista
is going to sound very,
balls.
very sad for a second. This is going to sound very, very sad for a second, but actually one of the first computers that I ever had for gaming or just a computer in general ran Windows Millennium Edition.
Alright, you see, Windows Millennium Edition was basically 98 Second Edition. Not Windows 2000, which Windows 2000 actually...
No, keep in mind, this was 2010.
How did you even find something running Millennium Edition? Like, no, seriously.
I found it at a thrift shop.
Right, see, any story that sounds with no. That's you didn't have a computer. You had a potato with ideas of calculation. I'm sorry, like...
Believe it or not, the second monitor that I have, I got from a thrift shop for $20, and it's nearly a $300 monitor new.
Right, alright. Look at you with your mad nonsense. Right, so... Somebody managed to get
Retaliator without the front barrel for $3 in working condition.
Because everybody needs
12 mag.
We should actually briefly mention, because I know that you're more engaged in the nerfy stuff than I am, but there has been models gone out of the new stuff that we've all kind of been looking forward to in the background, the Hyperfire and the Tri-Strike.
And the Hyperfire.
Yeah, the Hyperfire, of course, we've both seen the video, which mods it to all shit buggery and turns it into a foam spewing machine.
625 darts per minute, I think.
Yeah, it's just...
did the calculations out.
It's pretty crazy.
All we need is the 50 dart drum that Nerf patented.
Yeah, patented doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's probably patented to prevent patent trolls, all that kind of nonsense. But the the other one I'm more interested in is the Tri-Strike, because the main core blaster actually looks to be pretty damn solid by itself. If you take off all the crap around it, the front barrel attachment and the shoulder stock, it actually looks like a really good pistol, and it has slam fire.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why not run something like that as a
minimized long shot?
Yeah, just run it as a pistol. Run it as a pistol. What wreck scrubs with your ability in your pistol rounds, where you're walking around with your slam fire bolt action? Tell me you wouldn't do that. Tell me you wouldn't.
No, I'm more of a retaliator guy than anything, but still, we should.
I would run the retaliate. I would run the retaliator like a pistol. Anyway, so what else have you got for us?
As a pistol as well, but I do have that. Apparently, the Batman Arkham games, 2 of them are getting remastered with HD graphics and with new content to be released as a all-in-one edition, or not an all-in-one edition, but a 2-game pack, as the Batman Arkham series. It's Batman Return to Arkham, and it's just like a repackaging, remaster of it.
Well, hang on. So you had the first 2 Arkham games was Arkham Asylum, which was arguably great, and then you had Arkham City. And then, now
it's Arkham Knight as well, but they're remastering the first 2 and putting them out.
The less said about Arkham Knight, the better, I think, to be honest. WB Games, of course, famously threw up their hands in the air and just didn't even bother trying to PC port it correctly. It had frame rate issues on the PC when you can have PCs with better stats than a PS4 or an Xbox One, and it was having frame rate issues. Then they tried the patch, which gutted it and capped it to 30 frames when it was running perfectly fine on every other platform. Them repackaging the first 2 doesn't surprise me, and I played both of them on the Xbox 360, and I like them, and I'm going to keep the memories of how they were in my head. And while they might come out and do this new remastered edition, whatever, unless they are literally the same games, and I mean you didn't change a goddamn thing about them, then they will have fucked them up.
They might add something.
No, you don't add stuff.
Fix glitches.
Right, okay, have you played either of those games?
No.
Right. Glitch-wise...
To put it this way, the newest game that I have played that isn't a PC game is, I think it was Black Ops 2.
Right, okay, so that's not that far old, okay? So... Arkham
3 years old.
Yeah, what? Arkham's older than that. Right, both the Arkham games are older than 3 years old, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, the point is that
I think they are.
Yeah, the point is that both Arkham City and the original Arkham Asylum are fantastic games. They don't need to be meddled with. It's like, I mean, we've all. I'm presuming most people who listen to this will have at some point in their lives consumed Beauty and the Beast, the Disney film. And if it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. And yeah, if it ain't broke, don't mess with it. Stop sticking. Don't put your dick in it. Stop trying to poke the bear with a stick. Just leave it the fuck alone. Honestly, I'd take them re-released as they were. They actually have pretty damn good textures, as both were designed to run on the PS3 and Xbox 360, meaning they were capable of 1080p, I believe. So honestly, I don't need them to be in 4K.
Hell, the original Xbox was capable of 1080i. So the Xbox.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
3.
No, it wasn't. It was.
It was capable.
It was doing upscaled 720, mate.
Graphics.
It was running upscaled 720.
It was capable of running the graphics, but it was just upscaling 720.
That's because it was. Let us be very clear here. As much as I like the 360, it was kind of made with, well, poo. I like it. It's great. It has a lot of good games in it, but it was basically made with poo. And they managed to make it very entertaining, especially when it would keep bloody crashing for no reason. So, anyway, moving on. So I have managed to completely shoot down the why the hell would you put Windows 95 in a watch. I've also now gone, why would you redo bloody Arkham City, Arkham Knight on Arkham City and Arkham Asylum? All right, why would you bother? Just leave them alone. Don't fuck them up. It's WB. They're gonna fuck it up somehow.
The next topic is actually that there was a prototype released at an exhibit like in 2006, but this is really kind of new news because it's pretty much only making the rounds nowadays, but it appeared in like 2006. But it was a prototype video game system from Sony from the 1970s. From the looks of it, it looks to have been just pretty much like a trivia game thing. But people are more or less wondering how this could have changed the video game market. If Sony had gotten into video games and multiple cartridge consoles in the 1970s before Nintendo.
I actually would probably say it would have ended very bad for them. Now, one of the things that people don't remember is that the video game crash of, I think it was 1983, one of the big problems with that is that it killed Atari. Atari was one of the few people to survive that. Nintendo survived it by virtue of being in Japan, which didn't have the crash effect so heavily, and also it happened to be already a well-established group. Keep in mind that Nintendo was actually founded in 1899 as a card game seller. Like it has,
and they dropped card games in like the 50s, and they tried everything from literally vacuum cleaners to toys.
Yeah, so Nintendo already
even had a taxi service.
Yeah, so Nintendo already had a pretty big company that was geared towards doing something that they didn't know what. And more importantly, unlike, say, Sony, who would later find very, very profitable markets in the area of televisions, DVD recorders, all that good stuff, VCRs, and of course would get in on laptops. How long's that lasting, Sony? Yeah, I'm smack talking you.
About 2-3 more days.
Yeah,
cough, cough.
And then of course
Sony's computer.
Yeah,
Sony's
so
laptop market just dies from lung cancer.
Now the thing is, if Sony had gotten in at that early stage, that early failure could have crushed them, right? So let's say they found their foot as maybe VCR creators because they really got big in the late 80s after the crash. So speculating about it probably wouldn't have worked out too well for Sony in the long term. And considering the fact that, let us be very clear here, that while I am appreciative of all sides in the war, that is consoles, that has gone on literally my entire life, and I've been on the losing side a lot because I was a Sega guy back in the 16-bit era. I was a Sega guy when the N64 was out, and then I switched over to PlayStation. Keep in mind that while Sony did very well and by sheer force of accident won the console wars that the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 were in, that is by accident. Because if you look at the competition at the time, it was terrible. If we compare, say for example, PlayStation 1, its contemporaries were the N64, a great gaming system but not very good to code and develop for, that still used cartridges, meaning the PlayStation 1 could offer a higher fidelity and longer games, and the Final Fantasy series as it is now known today exists because of the fandom it built from Final Fantasy 7 through 9 on the PlayStation 1, which were long games which you could only do on that platform. So you've got that.
And then its other rival
was the Dreamcast.
Was the Sega, which has a huge community now, and even to this day still has people coding games for it.
And had a really big Japanese fan base, to the point where it was 2006 when they finally stopped supporting it. So,
seriously, freaking 6.
Yeah, there was like broadband support and everything. They got supported for years. In fact, I think they're only now starting to take down the servers. Right?
No, they took down a lot of servers in 2010, and they're just finishing up a lot of servers now.
Yeah,
the PlayStation 2...
But yeah, of course, there's the other the competitor for the PlayStation 1 era that people don't often remember because it was made by Atari. It was, in fact, the last Atari console made, and it was the Atari Jaguar.
Yeah, the Jaguar. Jaguar.
No, there's no UIR in it. It's Jaguar, because it's a Jaguar. It's like the car. Anyway, so
either way,
but the thing is, the PlayStation 1 didn't really have much competition in that era, if you think about it.
Yeah. If I'm right, it was the Atari Jaguar that was really good, but it was really heavily overlooked.
Well, one thing that played into it negatively was that it cost an absolute fortune. Much like the Philips CDI in the generation before it, the Jaguar cost more. Second of all, how it actually
Yeah.
made things happen was through some very dodgy bits of mathematics and physics that caused it to be very difficult to optimize games for. So while you could release a game on the Atari Jaguar and it would run relatively okay, it would run better on other consoles, which was a problem.
Alright, back to the PlayStation 1.
But yeah, that was in the PlayStation 1 era. So the PlayStation 1 won that by virtue of having longer games which were a lot more action orientated, and they made it very easy to develop for. As basically two fingers up to Nintendo. If you're not aware of the story, Nintendo and Sony were originally going to work together. Nintendo called it off with basically no warning, and Sony basically fumed.
Was pissed.
Oh yeah, Sony was super pissed.
To put it this way, from the story that has been gathered, the prototypes that were made, a lot of them that were made, one of the companies that was told to actually produce them just on a prototyping scale were told to destroy them, not package them up and put them in an archive somewhere. They were literally told to burn them and destroy them in every way, shape, or form.
To be fair,
now, the only physical evidence that we have of that are patents, papers, and a single prototype that has survived as far as we know.
that actually can be standard practice when it comes to prototyping. You will trash the other models after you're finished prototyping, because whether or not you choose to use them, you don't want somebody else seeing it and making a copy of it. So that actually could be fuck you Nintendo, or that could be we're protecting our copyright kind of thing. Because keep in mind, they'd already done all the work.
It was most likely a fuck you Nintendo.
It could be either or.
Knowing Sony and their ability to hide prototypes, I'm pretty sure that they would have just chucked it in a warehouse and
anyway,
forgotten about it after a while.
And if we look at the generation after that, where we had the GameCube, the Xbox original, and the PlayStation 2, really the GameCube it ran off of fairy dust. We can all agree we have no idea how the fuck that thing was so damn good. But the problem was that the proprietary format and difficulty to code made it very difficult for developers to make games worth their while on that console. It also didn't sell that well because it came into the development of that cycle of games late, which is a problem. The Xbox, for all the complaints about the Xbox, it was genuinely game changing. I mean, come on. We have internet gaming on a mass scale because of the Xbox, right? Xbox Live would not exist without it.
To put it this way, actually, the Sega Dreamcast was actually the first one to have the ability to play games online.
I never said the Xbox was the first to do it. I said they were the ones that we have it like that today. Because while it was hugely popular,
they're the ones that
it was hugely popular in Japan. The internet gaming thing worked in Japan because they had really good internet services, but Xbox Live did not ship with the original Xbox. People forget this. It was actually years into the Xbox original life cycle that they developed Xbox Live. And the reason for that was that the fan base of Halo started creating internet connection protocols in order to play against people from around the world, which is just the coolest thing ever. I mean, I think that's just amazing.
They created X-Link Kai.
Yeah, and then Microsoft went, right, okay, let's just cut out this infringement potentially by just starting our own service. I mean, I have my own issues with Microsoft's Xbox Live service, but, whatever. So if we look at that generation, the PlayStation 2 won because it was easy to develop for, it wasn't trying to muddy the waters by trying something that nobody else had done, and it wasn't demanded for PlayStation 2 games, like this is the internet gaming. Unlike the GameCube, which was smaller, significantly less powerful, and came in late, the PlayStation 2 arrived first, and it's one of the best-selling consoles of all time. I mean, even now, I think it still holds the record. And then if we look at the generation after, which...
No, the Wii holds it.
That's literally about what...
The Wii holds...
It's one of. Considering the fact that the Wii...
it is.
One of. Like, that doesn't mean it's the top, it means it's one of the top 5. Come on. Work with me here. The PlayStation 2...
I'm quickly Googling it.
The PlayStation 2 is one of the most well-sold consoles of all time. I'm pretty sure it's number one. Because the thing is, this is one of the things people don't realize, is that most console developers actually lose money per console they make. It's very rare that a console developer makes a console and doesn't lose money on it. The exception to this are the GameCube, the Wii, and I think the original SNES, the Super Nintendo. Now, the reason for that is that when we're looking at the Wii, at that time, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were at war, and the Wii
Shit.
came in late yet again. And the Wii actually made money on the consoles themselves. So even though they came in late and they sold like hotcakes, the Wii made money by itself. And I think it did, by virtue of sales alone, outsell everybody. No, I think the Xbox 360 sold more in that time period, but the Xbox 360 was what everything was developed for.
Uh-oh.
And the PlayStation 3 kind of lost that fight, if we're honest, between that sort of quality, because the PlayStation 3 was very expensive. A lot of the games weren't very good. Fight me, fandom. Apparently I'm challenging everyone today, but PlayStation 3 wasn't exactly the best console out at the time. There was a lot of good games on it, but the lack of backwards compatibility, the sheer expense of development, plus it was so bad you could replace the whole operating system with Linux. I mean, come on, guys. Whereas the Xbox 360, despite all its technical faults, was the one that everyone bought. All that good stuff. And so that creates a problem, and we move forward into the Xbox One, PS4, Wii U thing, because the Wii U is yet again late to the party, and it's really gimmicky crap that's not even selling very well. So that's another generational war, but not because of its own merits. Well, not because of its own merits, but because of the idiocy of their competitors. This is my whole thing, is that Sony is actually a crap developer. They just win certain wars by virtue of not being as shit as their opponents.
Because the Xbox One is just a pile of shit with a fancy controller, and the Wii U is forcing too much of its hardware gimmicks rather than focusing on the actual game's content.
Which is what I've said, is that basically the PlayStation 4 is going to win this generation, not because it did anything to deserve winning by itself, but because it is in fact less shit than their competitors, which is not really a way to win your wars, as it were.
Yeah, and just I'm gonna wait until like Xbox wisens up and either jumps out of the video game market or actually does something good.
Well, you see, the thing is,
the NX is going to be like the greatest console of all time, and
there's never the thing
try and do the same old again for the PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation Neo.
That's looking a bit too far ahead. Right? Keep in mind that we're still in the early years of the development cycle of both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Now, one of the things that I think,
yet the Wii U's getting phased out.
Yeah, now there's good reasons for that. A, it's not selling well. The console doesn't make money by itself, and people aren't liking the games that are coming out in it. But here's the thing that's really important to think about when you're looking at these. Console gaming and PC gaming is now closer than it's ever been. No one can deny that, with ports of things like Dark Souls frequently going straight onto PC and be released on 3 platforms at once, which is a very bold move by developers, which I heartily approve of. Any developers need a story writer, I'm just here. No, I'm kidding. Right, so the whole point is that if the PC is so close to the development cycle of consoles, and the cost of developing even indie titles, not even AAA titles that we're used to, things like Call of Duty, Battlefront, all of these games, of course, are still getting pumped out year after year after year. And it used to be the case with the Assassin's Creed series, but now they seem to have dropped that. They've said that they're going to stop producing them as often, which I think is a big deal. I still have the original Assassin's Creed 1 in the house, and Assassin's Creed 2, and Brohood for life, best game in the series. Fight me, fandom. But the important thing is that they're dropping back because they've realised that if you release something constantly, it's not as special. And console games are...
the market becomes saturated.
Yeah, well, the market's already become saturated. Okay, this is one of the reasons why there was a big crash of like 83. The games that were coming out were just garbage, and the amount of licensing money was crazy. Like, famously, E.T. is the reason why the crash happened, because it was a terrible game that was overbought, undersold, and most of it ended up in an actual landfill. Your Country is Strange.
Literally, in a literal...
Yeah, they literally, Atari lost so much money, they went, fuck it, and dumped it in a landfill. It was actually discovered a couple of years back. I'm not joking, this is an actual thing you can look up.
It was rumored about, and then it was actually found.
Yeah, so I think the thing is, with this current generation, with console gaming and PC gaming being so very, very intertwined, I think that when we're looking forward to the future of consoles, what are we looking at? I mean, there's games like Destiny out in the PlayStation 4, which is fairly emblematic of an online MMO, which is very cool and everything, and I'm a big fan of MMOs, don't get me wrong. And it's more reminiscent of that. We're seeing a lot more online games and games that are coming out for full price that are basically online only experiences, like Battlefront Star Wars, which
Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, you know what I mean. The point is that there's a lot. Your console games are going to be very.
Battlefront. It's just battle. Yeah.
It's just bad. The point is that with your console games, you're getting bite-sized versions of PC games, and we saw with Skyrim that people are more than happy to play like single-player games as long as you're willing to put in the content. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, Skyrim's amazing, like one of the best in the series." I would disagree because it was a lot more shallow compared to its predecessor, Oblivion. Now, I don't hold it against it. Obviously, in a game like Skyrim, which is massive, very well detailed, has a huge PC modding community, there's always going to be stuff left out, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And when your game is that big, that's fine. You know, it's like the bugs. We all kind of expect them, but again, we don't deride the Bethesda for them because, well, have you seen the size of the game? It's huge. Fallout 4, on the other hand, I'm more than willing to crucify because its development cycle, from everything we can find out, was about 8 months, which is awful. There are huge sections of the game, like the karma system is just gone. The karma system, which has been in almost every single Fallout game, like every single the original two from Interplay, the original Fallout games 1 and 2 had a karma system. 3 had a karma system. New Vegas had a karma system.
New Vegas had a karma system.
4 doesn't have the karma system. They just removed it, and they don't.
It has. They have it to where the companions will like or dislike different things, which they thought would make up for a karma system.
Yeah, it really doesn't. In fact, it's also incredibly buggy to the point where if you try to complete the game without killing anyone, you will break the game. The guy who did it, there's one guy who did it who recently did like a survival run through. It's not Many a Truner. There's another guy. The guy who did the no-kill playthrough on Fallout 4 almost broke the game.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, no, he seriously almost broke the game. There's basically he was using perks and resetting. He was basically safe scumming until he got through, and he never fired a shot throughout the entire game. He mostly didn't even have companions either, because he didn't want to kill anything, which is fair. I can totally see that, and I'm down for that. If you want to play those kind of pacifistic run views, they are great fun. But the problem is that the game basically it crashed several times trying to do it because the game is not designed for you to do that. The game is designed explicitly for you to kill things. If you choose not to kill things, the game doesn't want to function. In fact, Bethesda themselves have said they didn't expect that to work. And that's a problem because you can get through Fallout 1 and 2 and 3 without shooting a single shot. So that's a problem when your game development suddenly
and Fallout New Vegas.
You can get through all the other Fallout universe games without firing a single shot, but Fallout 4 is the one that say, nah, you have to commit violence. That's limiting your options, and it's one of the complaints I would have with Bethesda. It's that, look, whatever you're doing, you're generally pretty good. Oblivion was good, Fallout 3 was good. They ran off the same engine. New Vegas was okay, that wasn't developed, that was Black Isle, and they know what they did. Day 1 patch, come on guys, you couldn't beta test that shit. I mean, come on, what are you, Square in Final Fantasy 13? So, incidentally, Squaresoft put out beta testing for Final Fantasy 13 so late in the development cycle that when they got the responses back, they couldn't change anything. And if you've played Final Fantasy 13, you know it's a big bag of dicks. It's just one of the worst things ever. It's genuinely the biggest waste of my time, other than the time I had to level an account to level 20 in World of Warcraft. And I think... but the World of Warcraft one was shorter, so I hold less of a grudge against it. But the fact of the matter is that in all the other games, there have always been the option to be as violent or as peaceful as you want. There's always been options, and the longer we go through this console-style development, because Fallout 4 was explicitly designed for a console, whereas Fallout games are generally designed for the PC, because that was the original platform they were played on. You can't play Fallout 1 and 2 on an Xbox. You have to play it on a PC. It's just how they work. And they designed Fallout 3 and Skyrim to work on consoles. That was the main focus of development. And that's great and everything. But it removed a lot of assets and it removed a lot of stylistic choices of play, which I don't think was exactly the smartest move. And when we're looking forward to console games of the future and consoles of the future, are we going to see that represented? I mean, I for one really would not want to be in a situation where, I want to buy a console. Okay, do I want to buy the blue console or the green console? Well, which games are available? Well, they all get the same games. But which one has the better online support? Well, that would be the the green one or the blue one. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is I should not be buying a console on the basis that I can play multiplayer games on it when I have a perfectly functional PC right here with a decent internet connection. I already paid for this bloody thing. I do not need another one. And if it's just getting cheap video cards, how long is it before people start buying up the consoles for less than the market value of the graphics cards, ripping the graphics cards and sticking them on their computers? That's all I'm saying. It's getting too close for to be considered viable, I feel. I mean, if I'm honest, in my head, the Renaissance generational war was the 360 wars. I think it's the 7th generation. It's probably the one where they got it, like everything, their console gaming and PC gaming was just separated enough to justify it. Whereas now they're too close. I think you can play. There's certain games like Overwatch, which I think will have cross-platform support, where you can be on a PS3 you can be on PS4 or an Xbox One and be playing with PC people.
Overwatch on a PS3.
It could work. It could actually work quite well. But the fact
you just said it could fart.
No, it could work. Look, just because you have a crap headset is nothing to do with me. So
no, not a crap headset. Right now, crap internet connection.
Well, again, not my problem. So I've got to say, we've rambled on for quite some time, and we've covered
literally over an hour now.
Well, you cut that bit out. You don't want to tell them how long we've been recording for, because then they'll know they're edited down.
It's going to be edited down to probably like 45 minutes or something. Either way, let's get on to the next topic.
Yeah, let's get on to the next
topic.
topic.
There's not much left.
What's the next topic? What have you got for us this week?
The next topic is that Minecraft on the Wii U actually got a content pack that was Mario-based. It's actually a licensed content pack of Mario, or just Nintendo assets for Minecraft on the Wii U. Speaking
as someone who has a Samus Aran skin when they play Minecraft, I find that highly hilarious. See, one of the things is as well,
I make you a skin and you don't use it.
I like Samus Aran. I'm sorry, I like Big Space Lady. She's also implied she big space lady with big muscles who turn into ball. Like I'm a simple man. I like Samus. I think she's a pretty cool character. I just wish they would do her right in one of her standalone games other than Super Metroid 4. Still the best one in the series. Fight me, fandom. Seriously, everybody I want to fight today.
You said fight me, fandom, like 6 times.
I know. But the thing is like, I think it's very interesting. We got something similar on the 360 when there was a content patch for Minecraft on the 360 as well. I think it's available on the PlayStation. I think that Minecraft's also available on the Xbox One because it's now a Minecraft.
Minecraft is available. Minecraft's available on the Xbox One, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, the Wii U, the PlayStation Vita. I think that they were working on a 3DS version and then they canned it.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. That's just obviously. See, one of the things that's really interesting is that all the other versions use the same base of the game rather than the PC version, because the PC version is coded in Java, and Java is not designed to do any of the things Minecraft makes. Yeah, they other than the original PC version, they all run off of much more stable code.
Yeah, they run off of C++, C#, and whatever the fuck Xbox
it's C++, mate. Anyone who says they program in C# is a complete artsy-fartsy dickhead, because C# is a mathematically provable. You can have a program still fail but be mathematically right, and that's your C#. Okay, this is I've got mates who work in coding, and they're like, "Nah, C++ works perfectly fine."
Either way, the content pack is actually licensed by Nintendo, but the odd thing about it is that it's free. With the content pack that was for the Xbox 360 and Xbox One that were like just Xbox characters, that was something that you actually had to buy.
Yeah.
This one is free because it's coming packaged with the physical release for the Wii U of Minecraft.
See, now that's different. That's effectively like in a collector's edition, you get free DLC. Do you remember Project $10, for example?
Project $10?
Project $10 was the name of an internal project for EA where if you buy a game first-hand from them, you get $10 of downloadable content. The idea being that because EA was a bit paranoid at the time, and, well, EA did win the Worst Business of the Year award multiple years in a row for this kind of crap. The idea was that if you resold on the game, so say, for example, I sell my game on it, like, whatever, like, in the UK it would have been GameStop, and then we got rid of GameStop, even though it was owned by Game. UK people, Game and GameStop were owned by the same company. What the fuck? But if I go to like say something like that in the US and I drop it in, and somebody else picks it up and they boot it up and they want to play the game, there is $10 worth of content missing from that game. The idea being that every time that the game is sold on, anyone who buys it, in order to get the full experience, will have to pay an additional $10 in DLC. So the idea was that they were going to make $10 off of every resale, in theory. In practice, what worked out was that everyone went, this is a really shitty thing to do, and then EA eventually stopped it. Eventually. And you notice, by the way, EA haven't done any. Yeah, you notice EA haven't done anything dodgy recently. I'm quite impressed. Like, they actually released Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare 2, which was good by all accounts. The only thing that detracted from it now is that microtransactions have been added, but EA haven't been complete dicks. I, in fact, got to play in the Mirror's Edge Catalyst beta, and I was like, holy crap, this isn't loaded down with microtransactions or anything else. It's actually really good. I can't wait to see what the final release of the game is going to be like, and if my computer will actually handle it, because god damn, I need that in my life. I highly enjoyed it.
Seriously. Some of the two YouTubers that I watched who played the demo, the closed beta,
good fun.
One of them was Nerd Cubed. He's got like I think he's running 2 Titan X's in SLI, which is power in a bottle.
Yeah.
And even his computer can't handle Ultra. He had to set it to medium just to get 60 FPS.
One of the things that I would say that's something to consider is that when you're running a beta like that, there is, like, I was having desyncs from the animation, and I wasn't exactly running it on crazy high specs or anything like that. It was having a problem syncing up audio and stuff like that. Now, I don't think that's 100% my computer's fault. I'm not going to lie. Don't think that was 100% its fault. But when you're running a beta, it's obviously going to run into some problems. And that's fine. That's why you have betas. It's like people complaining about Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Online is still technically in some forms of beta because they're still adding levels to it. People don't realize that the word alpha is proof of concept, effectively. If you've got an alpha, you have a concept and you're just trying to make it function properly in the way you want. A beta is ironing out huge amounts of kinks and problems and can still lead to redesigns. Very famously, of course, there are like crazy amounts of MOBAs who have been in beta forever because they're not finished. There's things that need to be added to them. Dawngate never left beta, for example. Poor old Dawngate. As was the same with Infinite Crisis, which I also played. Infinite Crisis. Supernova, which is another one which I'm into, kind of is out of beta, but it's so small that the community is so crazy small that you're fighting the same people over and over again. You're kind of dependent on who's online, which is a problem. But no, I've got to say that we've had a right long natter today. Have you got any more topics for us?
I have. Yes, I believe I do have 2 more.
All right, okay.
One is the announcement of the GTX 1080.
It's a thing that goes very fast.
It is a very, 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 very powerful graphics card. But it does actually have support for a program. I don't even remember what it's called. I think it's Airs something or other, but it pretty much is like it lets you pretty much pause a game, go around in detach your camera from from the perspective of where it normally should be, and take screenshots.
Sounds like a mod. I would also say that like
the screenshots are in 4.8 gigapixels.
You see, the human eye actually only can see up to a certain point. Why would you need to do that?
Well, the thing is, because it's pretty much meant to be able... I don't know, but it's still pretty cool that you can pause a game, take a 360-degree screenshot, and, like, zoom in on the face of an NPC, or, like, one of the test images that they had was, they had a still that was taken while, in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, while the main character was moving across the screen and going past the library. there was a book on the floor in the library, and when they had taken the screenshot, they actually zoomed in on the book, and you could actually see the textures for the letters on the book.
See,
and it
slight
was about
problem.
maybe 20 or 25 meters from the player.
Slight problem with this. Slight problem with this. The graphics card has nothing to do with the actual texture fidelity. Just pointing this out.
It's not a matter of that. It's a graphics card that supports the feature that only a few games have.
Well,
it's
see,
pretty much
that's fine.
made for like people.
That's fine. The problem is that one of the things you don't realize is actually a huge part of the graphics card market is not video gaming. Everyone thinks that's the main focus of it, but if you know anything about Bitcoins, you'll know that the way it's done is you set up graphics cards to make all the mathematics for you, and then you run them en masse. So, honestly,
Bitcoin mining
is probably a lot more up the alley. Don't get me wrong. There's always improvement in video games, and there's always improvement in graphics. And in my lifetime, we have gone from 2-dimensional sprites to 3D up the arse games, to the point where I can, as you said, there are graphic cards out there where I can zoom in on a random fucking tile of me moving about and find something interesting, and that's great and everything. But what does it accomplish? If you're not making games that can utilize all of what that has to start with, then what's the point? A good example of this is if you've ever... We were talking about console wars earlier, we're going to talk about it again. When you're looking at the console wars, games that come out at the beginning of the development cycle of a console tend to be the worst. Not worst in terms of story, but they tend to be graphically the worst. There's not many games that really show it up. Original... We all... Like, everyone, even if you're not a fucking... Mario guy. I'm a Sonic man to be self. But even if you go back and you look, if you compare, actually, this is the best example. All on the same console: Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. And now Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles are basically the same game, developed at the same time, same engine, everything. It was literally because they were on cartridges. But if you compare Sonic 1 to Sonic 2, there's a big jump in graphical technology, despite the fact that Sonic 1 was a launch game. Sonic 2, a couple of years in development, so much better looking. Sonic 3, I would argue, is maybe not the best one. Sonic 2 is the best, fight me fandom. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles has a significantly different style feel. Hey, just bring it on, fandom. Bring the hate. I'm still saying it right here. Sonic 2 is the best game of all time. No, I'm just get Kanye myself here.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean, that games that are released later on in the development cycle of consoles actually look much better. I mean, I have... the movie tie-in game, the Wii version of the movie tie-in for The Last Airbender,
which I heard was not particularly good.
The game itself is buggy as all shit, but it was released, I think, about 2 years into the Wii's development cycle, and it actually looks kind of crap. But then you compare it to a game that I will probably be playing on the channel, Spectrobe's Origins. That was released like a year before, not even a year before the Wii U was launched. I think it was like 3 or 4 months before the Wii U launched. And it looks absolutely fucking gorgeous.
Yeah,
even
or if you look at Persona 4, for example.
It looks fucking gorgeous.
Another good example, if you look at, say, Persona 4, which was notoriously very late in the development cycle of the PlayStation 2. Hell, we've already skipped the entirety of the PS3, and those crafty buggers over at Atlas still haven't released the next Persona game. Release Persona 5, you bastards! I want to play it. I will find a way. I will hawk a kidney to get a PlayStation 4 to play it. I'm not even joking. Like, I really want in on that.
A kidney.
Yeah. I just go up to a pawn shop and go, "Hey, I heard you want a kidney." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And it's like, "Yeah, well, you owe me $10,000 now." But that would certainly help out my help out the financial condition. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to be a yeah. So anyway,
either way,
no. So I think
the last bit of news.
Yeah.
No, you finish up.
No, I was just going on to shit on companies again, which is what I seem to do. I know. I mean, you were actually saying, like, real talk here. Like, Sonic and myself talk to each other talk to each other a lot, and we're doing some work for the channel, and he was asking some of the other guys to do like small clips, and I kind of feel like I should change mine to basically saying, hi, I'm Deus, and I shit on companies and fight fandoms. I think that's...
Wait, you already did yours?
I might re-record it. I might re-record it just to say, yeah, I'm this arsehole, I shit on companies and fight fandoms. Come at me, bro. So anyway, sorry.
I'll just steal this audio out of the podcast and have your Skype profile picture up at the end of the channel trailer. It'll be like a little bleep, and it's a bloopers.
Oh, fuck you guys. Anyway, right. So, what's the last piece of news you got? Come on. What's the last piece of news you got?
The last piece of news is actually something that I think you're tiny bit excited for, and that's Hellgate.
Now, you see here, I at first got my hopes up, and I looked at it, and it makes me very sad. For those of you who are new to the channel and maybe not aware, I am the biggest fan of Hellgate London. It was a very short-lived game by a very short-lived developer named Flagship Studios. I had an entire video worked out, and I kept getting corruption issues, and all of my footage is lost. And I just haven't gotten around to re-recording it all because I'm sorry, I recorded so much, and the online component, which was picked up by a Korean developer and relaunched, and much complicated. Half the guys who made Diablo 2 fucked off to make another game. It was a sci-fi supernatural game set in the future in London. It was awesome. Go check it out. You can get it for free on the internet, as it is abandonware. I'm not joking. The single player is abandonware.
I'll see if I can put a link to it in the description.
I think I linked you to it at one point as well.
Yeah, but my computer is just like, hey, you think I can run it?
Well, I didn't expect you to run it. I just expect you to have a link to it. But anyway, so the important point is that the company behind it, Habitsoft, who are a big Korean developer, they are T3 Fun, as their parent company is known, developed a VR first-person shooter, which I'm kind of interested in, but it just, at the moment, it's got the Hellgate name, and it used one enemy from the original game. Everything else is new content, and I'm all up for original content and stuff like that. But honestly, just give me it. Give me the license. I will do so much work with it. Just give me it. T3 Fun, if you can hear this, just give me it. Just give me a team. I'll work on it. It'll be amazing, right? Because the thing is,
10 years from now, the company's gone bankrupt, and the president or the ex-president of the company is listening to this podcast for some reason, and he's like, "Shit, should have done that."
Well, the thing is, one of the things that I really liked about the game was there was this very Dark Souls-esque element before Dark Souls. Not that you constantly die, because you will die, trust me. It's more the fact that there was very much a horror element to it. Now, a horror MMO set in a futuristic, burnt-out ruin of future London, hell yes. I mean, it's not... I don't have anything against London.
You mean Hellgate, yes?
Oh, believe me when I say... all variations of hell and or yes. Okay, I am so down for this. It's not even funny, because one of the things that I think would make it really good is if you could make a horror style MMO, because I played it as an MMO majoritively. Ooh. It would be a very interesting thing, and there is easy support. Like, it could start off Hellgate London, then like 2 years later you do an expansion. Okay, we're doing Hellgate Paris. You then set the game in Paris. Go nuts, and you're fighting with the French resistance against these evil demons. It just opens itself up to lots of very easy interpretations. Hellgate New York, Hellgate
Russia. You step outside and you instantly freeze to death.
You could totally do Hellgate Moscow, and you basically can just... It makes your development a lot easier when you've got something that works. There's a lot of... If you ever have the time, I highly advise everyone to go look at the Hellgate. Just try and find everything you can about Hellgate London, because it had a lot of hype going into it. There's actually there's books written about it. There's like 3 books. I believe there's also a comic book series. There was a bunch of Weta models as well. Yeah, Weta, they were working on it. There's like a whole bunch of crazy crap associated with it, and it just died on its arse because it got some crap Metacritic scores and it had a bad online business model. Sorry, I'm just getting sidetracked. But Hellgate London, yes.
You're getting sidetracked by passion.
Yeah, so Hellgate London, yes, I'm all about that. But take it with a pinch of salt. The VR first-person shooter that they've designed is not really Hellgate London. It uses the name, and it uses one enemy, but everything else is brand new. So yeah.
What if, using the Hellgate name, they decide to relaunch it? Well, if the VR version works, do you think that they would probably try and relaunch the game as a MMO, or would they not?
Right, well, the thing is, T3 Fun, where they were a strange developer to interact with, okay, having been part of the Hellgate community, they supported that game solidly for about a year and a half to 2 years, and then they dropped it off the face of the earth. They just didn't care. They stopped responding. And that's a problem. But I think with one of the things is that T3 Fun are holding onto the license, and Habitsoft, who were one of the major developers, is doing something with the license so that they can justify it. This is the same company that was, and I quote, originally intending to relaunch it using the Unreal Engine, but their developers didn't make the progress that they wanted.
Beautiful.
It would have, right, a horror MMO in Unreal 4. I'm just saying that would be something to behold. But the problem was that the developers didn't really know what they were doing properly. They weren't making the progress that they demanded, i.e. they had no idea what the fuck they were doing, and they'd set themselves a really short goal, which is bold. Now, the other thing as well is that the game itself was just not designed... Like, the game that they let as an MMO was not designed for high-end play at all. Like, not in the slightest. Don't even think about it. It really was not designed for high-end play, which was one of the main things I was going to say in my video. But again, if I ever get off my arse to do it, it might be sometime later, and this won't have come out, or you won't have heard this, but it doesn't really matter. But one of the problems was the MMO version that they relaunched, because they redeveloped the game, added microtransactions in a way that made sense, because Korea is really good with microtransactions. They made it free to play, but you got the first 3 acts of the game completely for free, and then to get all of the original endgame content and the rest of the game was like $3. And it's absolute nightmare. There was this whole thing where people were buying tickets, which you could sell on the open market, and then going, I require 1 million in-game gold for you to get it. So technically, if you wanted to play the game for 100% free, you had to grind ridiculous amounts, and then you had to fork over all your money, and then you were leveling everything around you, and it just ruined game balance, ruined the in-game economy, and it ended up making everything free, which screwed everything. Absolute nightmare. So while T3 Fun are a very interesting developer to have played a game in, and they eventually did shut down the servers. There's almost a tear in my eye. But they shut down the servers in January this year, like 14th of January for some reason. It was supposed to close at midnight on the 1st of January, and then
December 31st.
Yeah, it was supposed to shut down December 31st at midnight, so basically the 1st, and it didn't, and it was still up for like another 13 days after, and they finally did close it. But the fact remains that if we want to see a proper Hellgate game, it's probably not coming from the developers over at T3 Fun and Habitsoft. They're going to be making their game, and that's fine, and I'm quite happy for them to make the third-person game, and if they make a good Hellgate game, I'll be very impressed. But from everything I've seen, despite the fact that it's looking like a very interesting shooter, and you should definitely check out the trailer for it, which will be up online. If you look for Hellgate first-person VR shooter, you will find it. But I'm not holding my breath on it being good until the day that I get a hold of the license somehow. I will Kickstarter the crap out of me doing this, I swear to fuck. But it's one of those ones where I really feel that they could do something relevant with it, and if they were willing to put the time in, they would get something relevant. But So, is there anything else on the list today, or is that us?
That's pretty much it. This has been the longest podcast that you and I have done together.
Yeah, well, I think
not the longest ever, but
one of the longest.
It's pretty damn long.
Yeah, it's like the PS2 of long podcasts. It's probably up there. So in that case, then I would say thank you very much for listening to me ramble for God knows how long and challenge all these fandoms. I am going to get so much hate mail.
All 7 fandoms. All 3 of the people that listen to the podcast is going to be angry that you challenged 7 different fandoms.
Yeah. They're gonna call it. They're gonna call it pandering. Next thing you know, we're getting told, "Oh, you only start fights because you want more views." And it's like, well, I want more views anyway.
We only.
I mean, that's just a happy
views,
side effect.
Yeah.
Right. So before I incriminate myself,
there were happy sound.
Anyway, if I'm gonna,
Anyways,
before I incriminate myself further and get sued, please don't sue me. I have no money. I've got to say thank you very much to putting up with my shit, Sonic OSG. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for anyone listening. Good job. You didn't black out. Hopefully, somewhere in the middle.
Thanks everybody for watching. This has been
interesting
PC Podcast. Whoa.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you
we'll see
very
you next
much.
time. Bye.
Bye.